Hi everyone, a very good noon, a very good afternoon to all of you. Hi Rohit, I hope I'm clearly visible and audible. Need to know this before we start. Hello Varad, visible, audible, everything's good. Hi Aditya, hello Kajal. Yes. Okay, good afternoon all of you. Okay, perfect, perfect. Thank you for confirming Maitri. All right. So, welcome to this session on verbal reasoning. We'll talk about critical reasoning for MHCET today, along with some other verbal reasoning questions. Okay, so I hope you've practiced some questions of this type. You've seen your MHCET previous year papers, even if they are memory based, and you know the kinds of questions that are being asked. If you don't worry, I'll tell you today what kinds of questions are being asked, and we'll practice some such questions as well. Right? Okay, so again, welcome to the session and let's begin. Okay, so of course, we'll cover both critical reasoning and verbal logic today. And the objective, the ultimate objective is that your accuracy increases in these question types. Okay, so what kind of questions appear in MAHCET in critical reasoning? So if I talk about MAHCET 2022, we had 4 critical reasoning questions there, all right, in MAHCET 2022. And I'm talking about slot 2 here because across slots the division of questions varies, right? So I'm talking about a particular slot here, but yes, you can take this to be an average and approximate number. Now, that's why we are going to practice all these question types today that form the basics of critical reasoning. Okay, all right, then let's begin without further ado. So, first we'll practice inference and conclusion questions. So, here an argument or a set of premises is given to you, and you have to infer or conclude something from it. In this conclusion, your conclusion has to be strictly based on what is given to you. I don't want you to apply your external knowledge. I don't want you to apply your own judgments to it. Just stick to the text. Anything that is true on the basis of the text is your conclusion. Okay, something that can be inferred. All right, then. So here's your first question. This is your stimulus, as we call it in formal logic terms. This is your stimulus. This is your question stem. So my suggestion to you is whenever you have paragraph based questions, first read the question stem. That tells you what you're supposed to do. Is it an inference question? Is it an assumption question? Okay, so that's the first thing that you should do. And I'm going to make myself invisible for a while so that you can read the question with ease, right? So here I go. Read the question and tell me the answer. Yes, let's see who comprehends it most accurately. All right. Vanchika says C. Maitri C. Rohit also says C. Others? Okay, so I've got C so far. That means most of us feel that C should be the answer. Yes, but why so few responses? Come on. 105 students in the session and I'm getting so few responses. Not acceptable. Okay, D Delhi is what Aman says. So a different response from the others. All right. Okay. Let's have a look at what the answer should be. Now, here, if I look at the other options here, okay, there will be no change to the Supreme Court order to award the death penalty. Have we talked about any such change that, okay, there is going to be a change? We just talk about the latest order, how it grants a meaningful opportunity to convicts. We do not talk about any change in the Supreme Court order to award the death penalty. So this is out of scope, right? Then the Supreme Court wants to do away with capital punishment in India. No such intention was revealed through my stimulus. So this is how you eliminate options in inference questions. Now this was a fairly easy question. C is the answer. Most of you guessed it. Most of you, inferred it correctly. The present sentencing process is arbitrary and unjust. One of you said this. Why? Yes. From what, when we use such words such as unjust, there has to be a strong justification to use the word unjust, isn't it? So my sentences do not talk about the idea that it is unjust. Okay, the author does not question the justness or unjustness of it, so I can't use such extreme words. So out of scope options, extreme options, they have to be eliminated, isn't it? That's why C is our answer here. Good. All right, so let's go to the next question. This is again an inference question, but on the basis of inference, on the basis of something that you conclude, you then have to apply it further. Okay. It is more like a course of action question rather than a conclusion inference question. That is why I have written further application here. Let me see how many of you infer from the passage correctly and then apply it to the options. Yes. Let's go. Okay. Remember, you have to stick to the passage in the sense that your inference and your suggestion later on should be based on what is written in the passage and not based on your general knowledge. Remember that. Okay. A, B, E, all right. More of E's now. Okay. B, all right. Okay. Using only chemically stable pesticides. Okay, that's B. D also I've got one. All right, let's have a look at it. So a short question, yes. Now you have to understand what the question stem is asking you. Based on the passage, the effectiveness of the pesticides can be extended. How can the effectiveness be extended? By doing which of the following? Okay. So A says breeding higher yield varieties of crop plants. Okay. Does my paragraph discuss this? High yield or low yield varieties, and how is it going to increase the effectiveness of pesticides? Okay, it is just going to increase the productivity of my crop, isn't it? So A is not related. Using only chemically stable pesticides. Have we said that the pesticides that we are currently using, they are not chemically stable and that is why there are problems? We are just saying that there is excessive use, and what problems does it give rise to? Killing pests and producing pesticide resistant insects. These are the two problems that we are facing. So it's not about the chemical stability at all again, and B is eliminated. Leaving a few fields fallow every year, again, not the topic of discussion. See, if you see, these are the problems that you have to focus on. That the natural enemies, the pests that are the natural enemies of pests, they are not killed. Sorry, killing the pests, natural enemies. That is what I should have highlighted. That the natural enemies of pests are not killed and insects don't become pesticide resistant. How can we ensure any of this? So I think this can be ensured, this can at least be tried if I keep on rotating my pesticides, then insects won't develop that resistance to one particular pesticide. So E is our answer. Absolutely correct. Most of you guessed it right. Periodically switching the type of pesticide used. Okay. Uh, Increasing is definitely counterproductive. It goes against what my text says. Okay. So D cannot be the answer. All right. Great. So I hope with this you've got a hang of what kinds of inference conclusion questions you can be asked, argument based inference conclusion questions, and such questions that ask you to apply it a little further, right? To suggest a solution, more of a course of action question based on a paragraph. Okay, let's come to the next question type, which is assumption. Now, in assumptions, first of all, we need to understand what assumptions are. So, uh, we don't use this word in logic as loosely as we use it in our daily life. In logic, an assumption is something that is necessarily true for your argument or for any statement that you make to be true. So, an assumption is a statement. An assumption is a statement that must be necessarily true for your argument to be true, right? So, type of pesticides also include different pesticides, you're saying. Uh, yes, Ayak. So, when I'm going to switch pesticides, if I have switched the type itself, periodically, if I switch the type itself, that will ensure that, okay, I'm using a different chemical composition than what I used earlier, right? Okay. All right. So, I hope this is something that's clear to you. So, for instance, if I ask my sibling to go to the market and buy a chocolate for me, right? My assumption there is that my sibling can go to the market. That has to be necessarily true for me to instruct my sibling to go to the market and buy vegetables. In reality, that may not be true, but my assumption is this, So, assumption is always from the point of view of the speaker, from the point of view of the arguer, the person who makes the statement. So, if I tell my sibling to go to the market, this is my assumption that my sibling can go to the market. In reality, that may not be true, but if I don't think this, then I'll logically not tell my sibling to go to the market. Right? So I hope these two things are clear to you. Necessarily true and from the point of view of the arguer. Okay then. Let's have a look at question number 3. So here there is again a paragraph that is given to you. Read the question stem now. All of the following assumptions are implicit except. That means 4 out of these 5 are implicit. You have to find out. Okay, and in fact, there is an option called all are implicit. So it's quite possible that all of them are implicit. So see if that is the case or if there is one such assumption that is not implicit. Okay, that is not necessary for this argument to hold true. Let's see what you say. And then I'll tell you a test. I'll talk to you about a hack to solve these questions. Yes. No, Harsh, not this time. Let's see. Okay. What is not an assumption? You have to tell me that. What is not an assumption? B, D, C. All right. Okay. D, E. So B, D, A, E, C. Everything I've got. All right. Let's discuss this. Okay. So one way to attempt assumption questions is that when I say that, this has to be necessarily true for this to hold true. What do I mean? That if this is not true, then this entire argument will collapse. This entire argument will become baseless. That's the idea, when I say that this must be necessarily true for this to hold true. So, um, let's see the opposite of it. Eyewitness memories cannot be unreliable. That means eyewitness memories are always reliable. If I say that, then does it make sense to have this discussion? If let's say I say this, that eyewitness memories are always reliable, then this entire discussion becomes pointless. When are they reliable? When they are not reliable? So that means, yes, this is an implicit assumption. This is a very major assumption that the author has made. It's a very fundamental assumption that the author has made, that eyewitness memories can be unreliable. Because if the author did not think this, why would the author go into an analysis of when they are reliable, when they are not reliable? Right? So this is an implicit assumption and it cannot be an answer. Okay. Now let's have a look at this. Again, let's look at the opposite of it. Negate it. So this is called the negation test. Okay. What I'm doing here. So let's negate it. Memories can't alter with circumstances. If memories cannot alter with circumstances, right, then why am I discussing the right circumstances? Why am I saying that the problem is that this confidence is trustworthy only the first time the question is asked? The very act of testing memories contaminates every other test that comes after. That means memories can change with circumstances. That is why I'm saying they can be reliable if they are tested in the right circumstances. Okay, so if this were true, that memories can't alter with circumstances, again, I would not be having this discussion that under what circumstances they are reliable, under what they're not. So, this is also an implicit assumption, and that's why it's not our answer. I'm looking for something that's not implicit. Okay. There are cases of misidentification of suspects by eyewitnesses. Okay. See, only when a witness is unsure does a risk of misidentification arise. The problem is that this confidence is trustworthy only the first time the question is asked. Okay, so we are talking about a risk of misidentification, right? A risk of misidentification. So there are cases of misidentification of suspects by eyewitnesses. I understand that this looks extreme. We should rather say there is a possibility of misidentification, right? That would be better. There is a possibility of misidentification. That possibility exists. Rather than saying that there are cases of misidentification, I agree with you there. If thinking this, you've marked C. But again, see, we have to eliminate and through elimination arrive at our answer. So let's compare C and D. D says witnesses misidentify rather than admit that they are unsure. Has this been written? Has this been implied? Is this implicit in any of the statements that the author says that witnesses do this? They misidentify rather than admitting that they're unsure. Doesn't it appear too external to the discussion, not present in the discussion at all? So while I am a little iffy about it, that okay, this could have been phrased better in the light of the paragraph, this is something that's not discussed, that's not mentioned, this comparison that they do this rather than that. This has not even been discussed at all. So it's D, that is not implicit. Okay, A, B, C, we will call it implicit because we have a choice in D, which is not implicit at all. Does this make sense to you, Tejas? Now does it make sense? Mansi, so the negation test is clear that, think of the opposite of that statement. And if on thinking the opposite of that statement, this stops making sense, then that means yes, it is an implicit assumption because it has to be necessarily true. Right? So this is how we solve them. Let's attempt one more question and maybe it will appear easier. ठीक है? Okay, Shiva. Let's go to the next question. Again, an assumption question. And tell me after this, okay, so the question stem comes after it. Read this first. Read this first. It's an assumption question. Ajay, why do you have to attempt them at the last minute? Read? Options, please. Okay, all right. So I hope you've read this carefully. We are talking about private investment, foreign private investment. We talk about FDI, right? And there are certain things that we've discussed in the context of FDI. Now, with reference to the previous passage, the following assumptions have been made. Now, somebody just randomly made these, and you have to now answer which of the assumptions are valid. That means which of the assumptions are actually implicit out of these. So, these are your options here: only one, one and two, one, two, and four, none, all. Let me see what you say. Learn more. There's a lot of time for CMAT. हो जाएगा complete. It's not like CMAT is tomorrow. Okay. All right. I can see some correct answers. Some of you said none and all. Right. Uh, First, let's see. It is possible to invest money in the entire world? So let's see if this has been indicated anywhere, if this is implicit in any statement. So we say because the available investment avenues are significantly greater. So for foreign private investment, the available investment avenues are significantly greater. That is the entire world. That means it is possible to invest money in the entire world. No, that is why my statement mentions this. So at least some kind of investment is possible in the entire world. So one is implicit. It is possible to invest money in the entire world. This is implicit because if this were not the case, then I would not say that, foreign private investment, it can be invested, there are so many avenues for it, that is the entire world, then I would not be able to make this statement. So this is implicit in that statement, right? Now, second says foreign direct investment cannot generate employment. How many of you think C is the answer? Yes, 1, 2, and 4. Or 1 and 2, in fact. B is the answer. Quite a few of you have marked B also. See this. What did my passage say? My passage said that the responsibility of providing employment cannot be left to foreign direct investment. Okay, that we cannot leave that responsibility on it. It's not that it cannot generate employment. It probably can, but it is not stable. So the employment that it generates is not going to be stable, right? It's not going to be long term. So this is distorted, saying that it cannot generate employment. It does generate employment, but because it's so volatile, there will be no stability in that employment. And that's why 2 is something that's not implicit in that discussion. Okay, so therefore these go out of the window. 1 is implicit. So now I know my answer also. I don't even need to look at 3 and 4 because the options are such. Let's look at 3 and 4. Policies must be undertaken to strengthen domestic private investment. Okay, we haven't discussed it. So this goes out of scope. Okay, we haven't discussed that in my previous paragraph. Then it is given priority over. So no such comparison has been made again. No such comparison has been made in the paragraph that it is given priority. Eliminated. So only 1, A is the answer. Okay, so just see, just apply the negation test and I think you will be sorted, right? And read the passages carefully. Make sense? All right. Chalo. Let's go to the next question type then. These were 2 assumption questions for you. Practice more assumption questions from your memory-based previous year papers. Okay, you'll get to know the level also. It's usually not that difficult. Now, coming to strengthening the argument. So, here an argument is given to you. You have to support it. Now, how do I support an argument? By, so if I look at the pillars of an argument, what is an argument composed of? What are the components of an argument? Premise plus assumption leading to the conclusion. Okay, so in layperson terms, an argument is nothing but your viewpoint backed by some reasons. Okay, your viewpoint backed by some reasons. So logic has given them formal names. So your viewpoint is called the conclusion. Okay, your viewpoint, your decision, whatever you take on the basis of these reasons. Okay, this viewpoint is called the conclusion and these reasons are called your premises. Assumptions are those statements that you don't explicitly make, but these you necessarily believe in. You necessarily believe in to arrive at the conclusion. So that is your assumption. So now when you have to strengthen the argument, you can either, go through the premise route, that you bring in additional premises that support the existing premises, or you bring in additional premises that support the conclusion, right? So premises or nahi le aao, reasons or nahi le aao, which support the conclusion. Or these are currently hidden. You haven't explicitly stated them. So one way to strengthen is you now explicitly state them. Explicitly state the assumption. Okay. This is one thing that you can do. Right? So these are the 2 ways to strengthen an argument. Let's see what you do. Okay. So I'm just deleting this bit. Read the paragraph carefully and let me know once you're done. We'll go to the next slide. Done. Others also? Yes. Okay. Let's go to the options then. These are your options. I'm going invisible for a while so that you can see them. Okay. Showing the previous slide for a moment. Okay. All right. So the student who gave the correct answer most quickly was XYZ. So XYZ, your answer is correct. Let's discuss. Okay. Why your answer is correct. Okay. So, what is the argument? You have to see that carefully. You have to read that carefully. See this. Um, we have currently, we are prescribing this medicine for adults, isn't it? So, we introduce this medicine here. We say that this was approved for chronic weight management in adults with obesity or overweight. Semaglutide. Now, see, what is the conclusion of the researchers? They carried out a new study and they concluded that it can also help adolescents shed pounds and have healthier hearts. So it can not only help adults, it can also help adolescents. That's what their conclusion is, right? You have to strengthen this argument, okay? So see, in strengthening weakening questions, it's important that you identify what the conclusion is. So this is the conclusion here. Ultimately, all your efforts towards supporting the argument have to support this, isn't it? That yes, it is helpful for adolescents also. So which argument, which statement does it? It is D. In an international clinical trial, adolescents with obesity who received once weekly semaglutide compared to placebo had a 16.1% decrease in their BMI. That means it worked for them, for adolescents. While the BMI of those who took placebo rose by 0.6%. Placebo, you understand, the medicine that does not have any medicinal ingredient, okay? But the person to whom it is administered is not told this fact that okay, this does not have any medicinal ingredient. So that means this medicine is truly effective, right? So truly effective for adolescents, and that's why it supports my conclusion. Now, I understand why some of you are saying, see, an effective medication against obesity is imperative as teenagers with obesity are also more likely. So, while you are making a case that yes, we need a medicine, you are not supporting anything about semaglutide, whether it is effective for teenagers or not. So, this becomes just a general wish that you are expressing that it is necessary, it is needed, right? It is the that with concrete data supports the conclusion. Okay, hope this makes sense. All right. Placebo is a dummy drug. Correct, correct. Okay, so placebo is not the name of a drug, it simply means a dummy drug which does not have any medicinal ingredient. In a lot of clinical trials, we use placebos and an actual drug. Okay, why do we use it? So as to understand whether it is truly efficacious or not, whether it is truly working or not. Because sometimes, even when the actual drug may not be really very effective or may not have a lot of medicinal ingredients, patients, because they're psychologically, because they're taking it, they psychologically start feeling better. So to eliminate, to control for that psychological feeling better, we use a placebo. Okay, all right then. That percentage and all is not included. It is there, no, in D, 16.1%. So D में तो है percentage. You are saying that okay, it is not there in the paragraph. See, when we strengthen, weaken arguments, we are allowed to bring in additional data as long as it supports my existing conclusion or weakens my existing conclusion. In strengthening, weakening, that is allowed. Okay, let's go to question 6, right? Let's see what you say. So now you have to again strengthen the conclusion of the study. So first see what the conclusion of the study is and then strengthen it. Okay? All right. Correct learn mode. Absolutely agree with you. Okay, so Saurabh has answered the fastest. Saurabh says A. Ajay says A. Shrayan says D. Bruce Wayne, read my comments. I am Nikita Gupta. I just commented that in strengthening, weakening arguments, you are allowed to bring in additional data. You are allowed to bring in additional facts as long as they're supporting, or in case of weakening the argument, weakening your existing conclusion. Okay? Because if you have to make something stronger, you have to support it additionally with something, isn't it? So you're allowed to bring in additional data there. Okay, let's discuss this one. We had to strengthen the conclusion here. Now, this is pretty easy, honestly. See, what is the conclusion here? That, contrary to the notion that mostly the wish for a ban, it came from small towns and rural communities. It's members of the urban middle class and economically prosperous areas, those who supported the ban. So, we have to support this idea. Yes. So, what should be the answer in that case? Option A clearly fits the bill, right? That when we look at Mumbai, Delhi, big cities, right? Urban areas. So the economy is growing the fastest there. So the economically prosperous areas, there, the support for ban came from there, right? Good. I think most of you have said A here. Excellent, excellent. Okay. Any other option that confused you? Yes. Any other option? This will go slightly against the paragraph. The paragraph's main conclusion is that it came not from residents but members, not from small towns and rural communities, but members of the urban middle class and economically prosperous areas. So this goes against, right? Anyone who thought D should be the answer? No, again D goes against because they were against the imposition of the prohibition, right? So others don't make sense at all. Chalo, let's see another question type now. So this was about strengthening the argument. Let's weaken the argument now. Okay, we've strengthened arguments enough. So here you have to weaken the argument the most. Okay, uh, and this is your stimulus. Again, read the question stem, then read the stimulus, then eliminate. That should be your strategy for attempting critical reasoning questions. I am going to go invisible. Let's see what you say. Oh, E was a bit confusing. I'll go back to it. Don't worry. Let's attempt the seventh one right now. Okay, got some responses. A, B, all right. Okay. Remember, you have to attack the argument this time. Okay, others? So those who've answered, yes, go and press the like button. All right, let's discuss this. So I've got varied responses here. A, B, D, pretty much everything. Okay, let's see. So, I understand that A is a very tempting answer to mark, right? Because we are saying that the author is basically drawing an analogy here. This is what we call an analogical argument, where you compare two things because they share some similarity, right? So here the author is saying, see, I support a ban on hunting leopards for the same reason that I would support not killing human beings. That's what the author is saying, right? So, and the author says, see, I am doing this even when human beings are also not endangered. So I'm doing this for human beings. That's why I'll do this for leopards also. Now, if I say human beings might, in fact, first of all, look at this might, in fact, be placed on the list of endangered species. Okay, so my question to you is the argument primarily about human beings or is it primarily about leopards? Yes. If you read the very first sentence, it very clearly demonstrates to us that the argument is about leopards. The idea, the author says, a growing number of ecologists have begun to recommend lifting the ban on the hunting of leopards, which are not an endangered species, and on the international trade of leopard skin. Okay, so the argument is not primarily about human beings, it is primarily about leopards. Also, this might is problematic because if we are not sure about it, then it does not make a very strong case of attacking this argument. Okay, so on this ground, A is rejected. Now, B, some of you emphatically said B in the beginning, that despite the growing number of ecologists supporting a repeal of the ban on leopard hunting, most will still support it. So I think because of this part, you felt that okay, this is weakening. But the author also never said that most of them are opposing. The author also said that a growing number of them are actually now opposing the ban. They are now recommending that the ban be lifted. So when the author did not say this, that most are supporting. If the author had said this, most are actually saying that lift the ban, and you say no, 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 most are actually supporting the ban, then it would weaken. This is not weakening because the author has already acknowledged that a growing number is doing it. The author has never said that most are doing it. Okay? So this becomes a very tangential way of arguing. B is not the answer here. Now, the international ban was instituted before they became an endangered species. That does not do anything to the argument. Okay, so it does not really support the author's assertion that now, now that they are not endangered, probably they became endangered in between. Now they're not. So, what should we do? Basically, it does not tell us anything regarding supporting or weakening the argument. D. Now, if you say D, that leopards, see, they are dangerously overpopulated and they can't be supported by their ecosystems, you are making a case for lifting the ban. You are going against the author. The author is saying that the ban should stay in place. You are saying no, that the ban should be lifted because they can't be supported by the ecosystems. Get it? That is why D, Delhi is our answer here and not the other options. Hanji. Yes, learn mode. Absolutely correct. Correct. Clear to everyone? If anything is not clear, please ask. Okay, in the previous question, some of you told me that you found E to be a little confusing. The prohibition was not imposed in some states where the economy was not doing well. Okay, so does it tell me? So basically, I'm saying that prohibition, urban areas supported prohibition, right? And you have to strengthen this idea that urban areas, economically prosperous areas, they supported prohibition. Now, if I'm saying that it was not implemented in the economically weak areas, so how does that tell me that urban areas supported? Okay, so basically, when you have to support this idea, you have to show, okay, what kind of urban area supported. You have to give me some examples, bring in some data. This is talking about economically weak areas that it was not imposed. So, why was it not imposed? Was there support for it? Was there not support for it? Nothing of that sort is clarified in E. And that is why it is neither strengthening nor weakening. Make sense? Okay. All right, then. Let's go to the chat box. So when we have to find the weakening statement, uh, we need to find what contradicts the, yes, what contradicts the conclusion of the author. Absolutely, absolutely. We have to find that. Okay. So be more specific. Taji, Mansi, in question 7, why not E? Leopards are not able to give birth to healthy offspring. So does that mean that we should, uh, as in we should kill them? Leopards are not able to give birth to healthy offspring. If that is the case, is it justification enough to kill leopards? That's a very ableist argument, to be honest. There's something called ableism when you want only able people and not, let's say, people with different abilities or people who are challenged in some ways to take birth. It's that kind of an argument. And moreover, it does not justify why we should kill them. Okay. All right. What's the basic difference between strengthening and weakening arguments? There's a very fundamental difference there. Okay. Let me just find a relatively blank slide. When you strengthen the argument, if you look at the argument like a house, you want to make the house stronger when you strengthen the argument. Whereas when you weaken the argument, you are trying to make the house collapse. That's the difference. Okay. So when you want to strengthen a house, how will you strengthen the house? You'll probably add more pillars. Yes, these pillars are your premises. Okay, then you'll probably make the foundation more solid. If the foundations are assumptions which were so far hidden, you'll make them visible. Right? That's one way to do it. Make the assumptions visible. Don't let them stay hidden. So that's how you strengthen. Now, if you have to attack, just start, just remove a pillar. So you can't take out the premises that are already there, but you can definitely attack those premises. Okay, you can definitely attack them with your tools. So you attack the premises, or you say the opposite of the assumptions. Okay, so that way you are shaking the very foundation itself. Say the opposite of the assumptions. So they are two fundamentally very different things, strengthening and weakening. They are opposites of each other. Okay. Do we have to always ignore negative conclusions or statements in the options? Learn mode, it depends entirely on the kind of argument it is. अगर argument ही negative है, तो उसका conclusion भी negative आएगा, isn't it? So it's not a universal. I can't give you a universal answer for this. All right. अंबुजा सीमेंट याद आ गया सबको? Okay. चलो, that means it has a good brand recognition. Let's have a look at this. This is also weakening the argument question. Which one of the following, if true, would cast a serious doubt on the researcher's hypothesis? So researcher has, said something, has probably uh, predicted something, okay, and you have to cast a doubt on it, right? So let's have a look. Researcher के conclusion को weaken करना है, attack करना है. अच्छे से पढ़ो इसको, read it carefully. And in case you don't know the meaning of delinquency, it means minor crimes. Done. So I'll address your question, Avni. Let's just finish this question here. Question 8. Look at the options, guys, and tell me what the answer should be. Yes. Okay, I've got a few responses. Others? Okay, so E, B, D. Okay, but I see that there seems to be a competition between B and D, right? But mostly I've got D's, right? Okay, some B also. Good, good. Actually, B and D are the close options here. Tejas, both the types are asked in the exam. That's why we are doing both. Okay. So you are asked statement assumption, statement conclusion questions also, and you are asked full-fledged arguments also. Okay, let's discuss this. Just give me a second. I am back. Yes. So this is a very logical question. Okay, I'll tell you why. There's a cause-effect relationship that has been drawn here. Such arguments are called causal arguments. Okay, for instance, I told you analogical arguments. This is called a causal argument. So this was the data that was available to the therapists. And from this data, what did they conclude? That a failure to spend time together with the children is a major factor leading to delinquency. That it is failure to spend time that is leading to crimes. Because families are not spending time together, that is why crimes are happening. When you have to weaken such arguments where there is a cause-effect relationship, you attack this relationship. How can you attack this relationship? You can show that, okay, this is not the cause. Okay, This is not really the cause. It's not, so these crimes are not happening because of a failure to spend time together. There probably is some other cause. So you create a doubt. Okay, you say, this is probably not the cause, probably there is some other cause. Either way, you have weakened it. या तो आप conclusively prove कर दो ये cause है ही नहीं, या फिर आप ये बता दो देखो possible है कि दूसरा cause हो. ठीक है? This is how we weaken such arguments. Now, good that you narrowed down to B and D. They are both actually close options, but one of them is correct. We'll see which one. It is not about whether relationships are healthy or not. Basically, we are concerned with whether the cause behind, the crimes happening is the failure to meet. Okay, the failure to spend time. Now, D says many families who have a long and strong family bonding met each other fewer than 4 times per week. Okay, so how do you relate it to delinquency? How do you relate it to crime? Yes, tell me. I want to hear this from you. So, this is about those families that have a long and strong family bonding. They met fewer than 4 times per week. Okay, so did the children there committed a crime or not? Do we know that? We don't know this, right? Whether the children of these families committed crimes or not. But what does B do? Look at the effect that B has. B tells you that these families are already unhappy. And because they're unhappy, they don't meet. So, and then, probably crimes happen. So this is trying to indicate, see, this was our conclusion. This was our conclusion. Now this is trying to indicate that, see, it's not the not meeting that is leading to crimes. It is the fact of the families being unhappy that is leading to crimes. Okay, not meeting is just a consequence of being unhappy. It is this unhappiness perhaps that is leading to delinquencies. This is just something that's a byproduct of being unhappy. So B is the one that is attacking this argument. It's showing that the cause behind these crimes is not meeting, it is being unhappy. Okay, this does not tell me, okay, whether crimes happen there, whether crimes don't happen there. Okay, long and strong family bonding. Okay, if they are meeting fewer than 4 times per week, so you are saying that they don't meet often. So it is not clear to me whether crimes are happening there or are they not happening there? What is the impact? Right? So I hope this is clear to you. Why B is better as compared to D? It's a tricky question, yes, because it looks like I am adding more information to what is already given. So ये तो perhaps strengthen कर रहा है, as one of you has posted in the chat box. I understand. So it looks like it is strengthening, but no, it is showing me another cause. It is showing me an alternative cause, that the cause is lack of happiness. Okay. All right. E is the answer. None of the above. No, no. In fact, E should be phrased like this. None of the above are weakening the argument. That's how it should be phrased. It's not about truth or false. Truth or lie. Okay. All right. According to the author, the problem is lack of communication between parents and children. Basically, the not meeting. Okay. The lack of spending time. Okay. It's not even communication. It's about spending time. But in research, it has been stated that the crimes are happening because of not spending time with each other. Correct, correct. So I am giving an alternative cause, the lack of happiness, which is leading to it, and not the lack of spending time. Okay, does it make sense? There was anything mentioned about? Yes, I agree with you that, okay, even this does not mention how many crimes were committed by such people, right? Even this does not say this. A very good point. However, what did my conclusion talk about? that crimes happen because of not meeting. So now I am giving you insight into why is it that they're not meeting, pointing to the possibility that the real cause is this and not really this. You get it? So here I am pointing to this possibility that the real cause of these delinquencies, this conclusion that they drew, this was not the real factor, this is the real factor. So even though here also I don't mention delinquencies, I still directly address the conclusion. This does not directly address the conclusion. The conclusion is not about families who have a long and strong family bonding. Okay, so that's why. Okay. So think about these questions, okay? After the session is over, just distance yourself from these questions for a while and then approach them with a fresh eye. And you'll be able to see that all of them have an underlying logic, the structure of premise plus assumption leading to conclusions. You have to identify conclusions first and then you have to attack or strengthen them. Okay? All right. Chalo. Let's go to our verbal logic portion. By verbal logic, I mean the shorter questions such as syllogism, course of action, assertion, reason. Let's have a look at them. These are relatively shorter, they are easier, right? And they are, because of that, more scoring. Okay. So here's a syllogism question for you. Quickly tell me the answer. A very commonsensical question also. Let's see what you say. D, B, all right. Both, okay. So these are your 20-30 second question syllogisms if you know the concept. Okay. So all bags are rugs, right? All belts are bags. So belts comes inside. This is belts. Then all socks are belts. So socks comes further inside. This is socks. Now, some rugs are belts. Definitely some rugs are belts. We can see that. Some rugs have to be belts. And all socks are bags. Again, all socks are bags. Right? If all A is B and all B is C, then all A is C follows automatically. So D Delhi is the answer here. Both follow. Okay. So just go through the concepts of syllogism once and this will not be a problem for you. Okay, question 10. What do you say? Let's see. I want more responses. Come on. इसमें reverse वाले. Okay. D, B. All right. So, see this. At least some vegetables are carrots. Some vegetables are sweet and some sweet are carrots. Is it necessary that some vegetables have to be carrots? Some vegetables are sweet, some sweet are carrots. I can clearly see that this does not have to be necessarily true. Okay. Then all Russians are vegetables and some vegetables are sweet. Look at these two now. All Russians are vegetables and some vegetables are sweet. So ideally this is how I should draw the diagram, minimum overlap, right? However, look at the conclusion. It talks about possibilities now. It is not talking about is or are, what is definitely true. It says, is it a possibility that all Russians are sweet? Yes, it is definitely a possibility. See this? This S, this could be like drawn like this also. So all Russians being sweet is a possibility. Yes? So conclusion 2 follows and B Bangalore is the answer here. Good. Those who said B, hope this is clear to you. I have clearly shown this that this is not necessarily true, and I have clearly shown this that yes, this is a possibility. Okay, let's go to the next question then. Course of action, yes. So just keep a couple of things in mind when you attempt course of action questions. Solve, or you just have to address. In fact, the better word would be address the problem. Okay. First of so anything that does not even address the problem, that doesn't even talk about the problem, cannot be a suitable course of action. Also, it has to address the main problem, not some peripheral problems or not some trivial problems around it. Any good course of action is feasible, which means it's humanly possible, and it is practical, means it's implementable. If you can't implement it, then it's not a good course of action. No extreme steps are advocated, beating, thrashing, killing. Okay, these are the extreme steps that are not. However, let's say expelling someone, usually again it is an extreme step, but if the situation is very extreme, then it will be justified. So the situation has to be really extreme to justify expulsion of someone, right? Or banning something. Don't take any assumptions from your own end in any of the questions. Okay, not just this question. And any good course of action, any logical course of action will automatically be ethical also. Right? Okay. All right. Rohit, funny. Okay. Let's have a look at this. So this is the situation here. Now, the new and widely publicized film shows, okay, so this is what has happened. This is the situation. Sorry, these are the instructions. Okay, instructions padho, situation padho, tell me which course of action follows. Pavan, can you be a little more specific? Like, can you give me a two statements, and then I can probably explain whether a conclusion will follow from that or not. Yogita, for that you need to attend a session on syllogism. So Saral sir took an excellent session on it, and it is available on our YouTube channel. Just type syllogism, and you'll get it in the channel. You'll find it. Okay, syllogism, BYJU'S Exam Prep. You'll get it because it's a 1 hour thing. A1, okay, all right. So you say if only one follows, okay. B, okay. Uh, does one follow though? That's my question. Yes, Avni. In case of strengthening, weakening questions, yes, you can. Strengthening, weakening questions, because if I say that, okay, this may happen or this might be the case, then that means I'm not sure about it yet. So how can I use it to support something or to attack something, right? So in strengthening, weakening, you can. I'm sorry, I forgot to answer it earlier. A, B, C, all right. B, two follows. The film should be banned. Ban hi kar do se. Okay. As I said, the situation has to be really extreme for a ban to be justified. Now, read this carefully. It shows a few members of a minority community in poor light. Not all the members, a few members of a minority community. So we need to investigate why this has happened. Probably the plot is such. No, let's say there is a movie about a minority community. Now in that movie there are some villains also. So those will also be from the minority community only. Yes, and not from any majority community. So it says a few members of a minority community. We need to see what is the reason behind it. Probably the plot justifies it. So if that is the case, then you can't straight away advocate that the film should be sent back to the censor board. This is not a very mild step. Okay, sending a movie back to the censor board. So neither follows actually. A good question, this one. The key lay in a few, not all the members, right? So neither one nor two follows here. Whenever there is a statement and no type of conclusion, and we recheck and from the other possibilities. Statement de do na, Pavan. Give me two statements and I'll tell you. 12th. All members. Then it should be uh, both. Just a second. The film should be banned. Mm. It should definitely be sent back to the censor board. And yes, it's not a good thing. The film should be banned. Again, I need some more information for a ban actually. Should be sent back to the censor board would definitely be there in that case. Okay, if all the members of a minority community are showed in a poor light. It's a negative development. Even I'm leaning towards a ban also, but I need a little more information for that. Okay, A, C, all right. Okay, B. I'll address this, Zoya. A, C, B. Okay, all right. So, in one of the worst bus accidents, 20 people died when the bus collided with a building. We don't know why the bus collided, right, with a building. What was the cause behind it? So, the bus driver should be immediately suspended, extreme. Then, for negligence on his part, we don't know whether there was a negligence on his part or not, right? So, it could be a fault with the bus itself, let's say with the technology of the bus itself, right? It could be a fault with the uh, road management, let's say traffic management, because of which the bus collided. So, again, we don't know. There's a question mark here. So, neither. C is the answer here. Okay. B follows. Would not put an end to such accidents. So B does not follow in that case. Learn mode. Acha, you are saying that if I try the driver in the bus, that will put an end to the accidents. No, that will also not do that. And we don't know whether it was the driver's fault or not. That's the biggest thing here. Okay. C is the answer. Right. Okay, so now Zoya was asking when is the either or scenario justified? In very rare cases, this will happen. When does that happen? When the courses of action are first mutually exclusive. Mutually exclusive means that if one happens, the other can't. Okay, that means one course of action can happen only when the other cannot. Only when the other cannot, then this course of action can happen. And they are exhaustive. That means these are the only two possible courses of action. There is no other course of action possible apart from these. That is when the either or scenario is justified. So you'll get, I mean, you'll find very few such questions where the answer is either or. Okay. No, it's not. See, we don't know why the accident happened. Okay. The cause of the accident needs to be determined. So, for instance, if it, let's take a plane accident, I think it will be clearer that way. When planes crash, do we automatically say that it's the pilot's fault? No, right? We check the black box, we see whether there was a fault with the plane's technology, right? Whether it was an old plane that was being driven, whether it was something wrong with the airfield there, right? So, similarly, we should follow a similar approach for bus accidents also. Maybe the bus collided with a building because it was trying to protect another vehicle. So हमें नहीं पता क्या हुआ ठीक है we can't assume on our own. Okay, all right, good Yogita, I'm so happy to hear this, to read this. Right, assertion reason. Another, yes, we have to approach these questions logically, not emotionally. Correct. Assertion reason is a question type that honestly I feel should not be there in a logical reasoning exam, but it is there. It's a combination of GK and logic. Your general knowledge should also be good to attempt these questions. So, two statements are given to you here. Okay. First of all, you have to determine. So, one will be called an assertion, the other will be called a reason. First, you have to determine whether these statements are true or not. In case, let's say one is true, the other is false, then it's very easy to answer this question. Okay, you can say A is true but R is false depending on the circumstance, depending on which is true. However, if you determine that both of them are true, then you have to establish this whether the statement that is labeled R is actually a reason behind this assertion or not. If it is a reason behind the assertion, then we say both are true and R is the correct explanation of A. If it is not, then we say both are true but R is not the correct explanation of A. Okay, chalo. Let's have a look at this question 13. And this is your question actually. These are just the instructions, assertion and reason. So let's see what you say here. Sri Lakshmi, in which question type? Syllogism, course of action, where? Pavan, I'll address this. Don't worry. Towards the end of the session, I'll take up this. Okay, I've got C, E. See, it's also a test of your common sense, okay? So, which North American countries will hold the 2026 FIFA World Cup? So, Sri Lakshmi, follow those rules that, is it an ethical course of action? Is it practical? Is it feasible? Is it addressing the problem? If neither of the courses of action address the problems or are not practical or feasible, then neither will be the answer. It's as simple as that. C, confirmed. So A is true, R is false. Absolutely. See, A is true. North American countries are hosting the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Canada, USA, and Mexico. Good, Omkar. Okay. And all the best football players would be North American residents by 2026. No such announcement has been made. Okay. And uh, I mean, this is false. Right? No such announcement has been made. Abhi to Ronaldo has started living in Saudi Arabia, right? So R is false. Okay. So yes, Anand, that's why I said that, these questions should not be asked in logical reasoning because they're a combination of logic and GK. Okay. All right. So these were some questions for today. Okay. We talked about all the basic questions of critical reasoning. So assumption, inference, strengthening, weakening. We talked about course of action. We talked about syllogism, assertion, reason, right? So I hope this gives you some insight into what comes in the logical reasoning section, okay, of MAH CET when it comes to verbal reasoning, and you now have tools to tackle those questions, right? So the basic concepts of the question should be followed, and you should be a little methodical. Read the question stem, then read the stimulus, then eliminate, right? In assumptions, apply the negation test. So this is what will help you practice a lot of these questions, okay? All right. Each and every question thoroughly, and your explanation is the best. Okay. You just need to add the there, Rohit. Welcome, guys. Welcome. So there was one question that someone asked us. Let's just solve this. Solve this. No megabyte is just a second. It was no megabyte is gigabyte, and some megabytes are not gigabytes. No megabyte is gigabyte. Okay. So no MB is GB, and some MBs are not GBs. What is the so basically you are basically giving me two statements here. When I say no MB is GB, then the diagram will look something like this, that MB and GB cannot intersect each other at any cost. Okay, so this is what the diagram is going to be. But when I say some MBs are not GB, in that case, other possibilities also exist. So some MBs are not GB can be drawn like this also. Okay, so here you see some MBs are not GB. It can be drawn like this also. Here also some MBs are not GBs. Right, this part, it is not GB. So these are the meanings of these two statements. Now, if I use them as two premises, you are saying that honestly, then combined कुछ भी conclusion नहीं निकलेगा इसमें से, because to derive a conclusion from two premises you need at least three terms. MB and GB के अलावा one term should be there. There should be one more term there. So I can't conclude something from both of them together. I just have the individual results. So if no MB is GB, then no GB is MB. We know that no GB is MB. And if some MBs are not GB, is there any result? Any direct result of this? Some A is not B. No, no direct result. So the only possible conclusion here is no GB is MB. That's it. Hope this makes sense. All right. Amit, I have already taken some such sessions. Okay, they are available in our channel. So just search for them. MAH CET playlist में search करना, you will find them. Okay, welcome guys, welcome, and do join the upcoming sessions also. So today at 5 p.m. Naveen sir will see you with linear circular matrix arrangement, right? And I'll again see you tomorrow with grammar and vocabulary, right? So it will be an interesting session for sure. Do join me at 5 p.m. tomorrow. Also, after the exam, we'll conduct a very thorough analysis. So do join us for the analysis, right? We'll talk about everything. We'll probably discuss a few questions also with you. And this is our CAT 23 comprehensive program. In case you or any of your friends are targeting it, then please you can just check this out. Okay, you can see the description in the description box, and there are so many features out there, so you can recommend it to your friends also, even if you're not planning. Okay, and yes, do follow us on various platforms. I hope you've subscribed to the channel and I hope you like the session. We also conduct sessions on our app. There are quizzes also available for you on our app for vocabulary, grammar, logic, etc. So you can download it and check them out. Okay. All right. Welcome, guys. Thank you for attending. I'll see you. I'll see you. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome.